Good afternoon. We will have 3 examinations today. We need volunteers. We have 4. More or less willing volunteers. We had some time ago, last year, with Jonathan Worsley, a discussion about the huge number of new brands flooding the market. Usually something with a Y or something difficult to pronounce. And we all lost track somehow the profusion of new brands in the marketplace. And we have, of course, in a lot of conferences, a lot of brand presentations, usually shiny, half-an-hour videos, how great the new brand is, and that's the best thing in the world. Irene, who comes last gets...
You were scary.
I'm a consultant, what do you expect?
I'm sorry.
So we thought it makes sense to analyze some of the new brands which come to the marketplace and look a little bit critical from different angles, from a financial point of view, from a legal point of view, from a design point of view. And we have a couple of experts here, from Marco Niehoff to Scott Antle to Tana Schmidt and myself, Michael Wittmann, who will scrutinize some of the new brands and raise our voice and come to a verdict whether the patient is healthy, alive and kicking, or in danger of imminent death. So our job is now, with your help, in the end we will do a Q&A session to assess which of these new brands is just an addition to the long list of brands and which one has the potential to grow and prosper. Speaking of growing and prospering, we still have a couple of seats up here. Don't be shy. We will do examinations row by row, so you're safe. We will run through these 4 brands today, and the idea is to have this as an annual feature at IHIF, so please be critical with us, give us your recommendations, what we should improve, but let's kick it off now and look at the health of 4 brands and their potential for the future. My colleague Christina Locher is kind enough to help us here, and we will try to get through the schedule. First off on the list is Moxie. And we all heard about Moxie, but let's not talk about it. Let's look at some pictures. And Markus Lehnert from Marriott will comment if needed.
I won't say anything.
He's shy.
I'm very shy. But read fast.
it's always interesting to see what types of guests are supposed to be in these hotels and who really shows up. It's people like you and me, and that's a scary thought. Now, but we want to know now, does this brand not only excite guests, can it excite investors? I don't know if you need investors, but should they need investors? Would it excite investors? And the first in line of the experts is Scott Antle from BLP, one of the preeminent legal experts for hotel contracts. Scott, what is your verdict on Moxie from a legal point of view?
The slide. Well, it's if you're into a franchise and that's what you want to do, it makes sense. But you're limited to the franchise model. The fee structure is fairly standard for a franchise.
Louder, we need it a little bit louder.
I don't think it works.
He's talking. He's talking, not me. Sick patient, wrong one.
Laryngitis. Okay. No?
Yeah, the heartbeat can clearly a little.
Does it work? All right. As I said, you're limited with a franchise only. If that's what you want, fine. The fee structure is fairly standard for a franchise model. Developer incentives, I would say not a lot. And then the flexibility in key issues, you're looking at a fairly standard Marriott product with a standard choice of law and dispute resolution, so less flexibility.
Yeah. So I think we have some technical issues here. So I think the brands are healthy, but the technical stuff we need to work on. So just to summarize, I think my microphone is working. You say it's focused on. Can you repeat it?
If you're looking at a franchise
Still not working.
Product, I don't know if it works.
Hello?
If you were looking at a at least standard franchise model with a more contemporary design, yes, it makes sense. But on a legal perspective, I'd say this is fairly plain vanilla, what you would normally see in a Marriott franchise contract.
Okay. Thank you very much, Scott. We will come back to that, and I'm sure Marcus will have something to add to that, or maybe not, I'm not sure. Let's look from a financial point of view. Tana, you're a developer with Freo, and you look at it from a development financial point of view. What is your verdict?
Well, the costs appear okay. They're within the range that one would expect for this type of product. They're also in second, from what I've seen, you're in Milan near the airport, so you're in certain locations. And I do understand you do new build, preferably to converting existing buildings. So you're limited in some of your sites there, but on the ballpark, your investment costs are where I would expect it. Tried and tested, well, I think it's too early to say. However, you have this huge talent pool, which is Marriott anyway, to sort of tap into. Value enhancement, that's where I had a question, because I think the most important thing about these lifestyle brands is that they need to have a story behind them, they need to have authenticity. And authenticity, I think, it will give you the quantum of where, everyone can, pay, or everyone's willing to pay X for a room. What's the X plus Y? And the Y factor for me is where people are going to have to really work on the story behind the brand. Debt and exit potential, well, I gave it a plus for that because, quite frankly, with the brand's, portfolio behind it, debt would be rather easy to get. And I also understand that now you're opening to third parties, investors, which was previously backed by InterHospitality. So it's got a plus for me on that one. So, yeah.
Thanks, Tana. And Marco, you work with Yotel, you have been with Jumeirah. You look, even though you're not an architect designer by profession, but you have a fable for the design issues. Tell us, what is your design verdict?
I've seen it before. This one I've seen before. It was not very original. I think from construction type, this is easy to build. It's pretty straightforward. Third-party usability, that's an interesting one, because that means if it goes belly up, can somebody take it over? I think yes, it is very easy to take over. Consumer friendliness goes a little bit with innovation. I think I've seen it before. So I found this a little, yeah, it's a good product, but what's the story? I'm missing the rest.
Okay, so the overall verdict is a question mark with a thumbs up together. Overall, I think we are all agree that the product is not revolutionary and the contract structure is not revolutionary, but we also know that the success of a brand is often more in the speed of a rollout than in the pure quality of some of the ingredients. One could argue Motel One is maybe not the most innovative product in the world, or Premier Inn is not one of the most innovative products in the world, but I hope I don't insult anybody here, but it is a question of speed. So overall, we see a good prognosis for the future life and the growth of Moxie, but we would need a little bit more kick in the butt in the terms of hipness and design, maybe. Markus, can you live with that?
No, but I'm the patient, you know. I violently disagree with everything that has been said, of course. I mean, let's wait and see. This is all something which will be in the fullness of time. And I think what we have is not only the product can be copied by everybody. I mean, if someone walks across this this show every year, they will see something that was there the year before. And it is the overall package. And the overall package for Moxie is pretty much an emotional one. And this emotional one that has a part of the crew. This was the most important slide on that little movie which we did. Because the product can be copied. It's the crew where you will see the difference. The product is that what the investors look at. The product is something what the designers look at. The crew actually bring the emotionality into this hotel. And if they are congruent, if they can appeal to you and me and all those nice people which we saw in the movie, then you will have a solid product and you will have the story automatically.
Thanks, Markus. We will have some cross-examination and questions and answers at the end, because otherwise we will not fit in. So let's go to the next one. It's difficult for me, I'm colorblind, so if we move from Radisson Blue to Radisson Red, I have my issues from a medical point of view. But Eli, you brought us a movie in 2 minutes, the essence of Radisson Red. Let's have a look, and you please feel free to comment anything which we see here. Sure. Radisson Red. Scott, is blue or red any difference in terms of legal side?
I think they're the same. I must say, looking at the brands going online, this product had the most enticing materials and information and some really good graphics and things. That's not legal, but just it caught my attention. The contract, the flexibility, management, franchise in a key gateway city, they're open to lease. The terms of the contract are pretty much your standard base and operating willingness. So I'd say that's neutral on the participation. Key money, yes. Equity in the right conditions, in the right gateway cities, up to 20%. And in contracts, I would say yes, it's a fairly flexible contract.
Okay,
With
so
choice of law and just the structure of the contracts that are used.
okay, thumbs up from the legal side. If we continue, Tana, from the financial and development side.
Yeah, once again, the investment costs are exactly where you think you would expect them to be. Tried and tested. Once again, I had to put a question mark there. I did see some reports, Twitter online, regarding the New York product, which got some mixed and challenging reviews. But I mean, we all know the generation is difficult to please, and it's something that it's out there. So at least you're out there. Value enhancement, that's something interesting. I mean, originally I thought not much. I thought it's just another one of these McDonald's things. But then I actually looked into it a little bit finer detail, and I realised that there's really a push for the interaction between the guest and the hotel there, which I thought is an interesting spin because, I mean, to entice your guests to interact, to have something different, to choose their minibar products, I found was an interesting spin on that whole sort of brand differentiation. Debt and exit potential are similar to the Moxie brand. I think it's definitely a positive there.
Thank you. Marcos, the design angle.
From a design point of view, it had character. It definitely had character, and I agree what you said about the stronger design images, etc., that were there. I don't know how much copy-paste will happen, which from a design point of view, I feel that is something that should not happen. It's not about copy-paste. It's about recreation, in my opinion. A construction type, these are pretty solid from a construction point of view. Third-party usability. There was once a famous guy who said you can switch the logo on the top of the building and you wouldn't know who's running it. I think in principle that can be done here, but you may have to do a little bit more in order to adapt it because they're very strong imagery. Consumer friendliness. Yeah, what's the coolness? What's the value? What does the consumer give extra that another brand wouldn't give? Again, that was not entirely clear to me.
Okay. So overall, we have, from a legal point of view, a clear thumbs up. From a financial and design point of view, thumbs up with some question marks. Overall, that's a thumbs up. The question remains not whether Radisson Red can differentiate from Radisson Blue, but whether Radisson Red can differentiate from the many new attempts to create lifestyle-oriented brands. Where is the added value in terms of lifestyle value? This is a question, Eli, you will have to answer for us and for the audience.
Can you make a difference between Johnny Walker Red and Johnny Walker Blue?
Price.
Price? You don't know whiskey. I think there's a big difference between the two brands. Between the two positionings of the brand. If you can make a difference between Hugo Boss, the black label, and Hugo Boss, the orange label, I think you'll make a big difference. Look, we are not trying to create a revolution here. All what we try to do is to create an evolution and create this brand that is, we think, is responding to an evolving consumer need. We created the brand keeping in mind the consumer, and here in this case, it's Generation Y, or the behavior of that generation, and it's all about connectivity, engagement, flexibility, choice. Second, keeping the investor in mind, trying to really optimize or maximize front of house versus back of house, really value engineering the contract, the development cost, and being very flexible on our business models. Then, of course, keeping in mind our own shareholders, we have a global rollout strategy. We need our bucks back. And last but not least, to be creative yet simple in the way we position the brand. We played on the color schemes, and we are not the first to do that. The retail business did that before, and the alcohol business did that before. All what we try to do is to bring that to the hospitality business. So it has been done before, so that's a good historical anecdote that it will be done again. And the brand is clearly, from a positioning price point, both development and average rate, clearly separated from Radisson Blu. It sits between Park Inn and Radisson Blu. And unlike some of our colleagues in the industry, we don't have 24 brands, we have 4 brands. So for us, price positioning is very clear. Park Inn, Radisson Red, Radisson Blu, and Cobus, which is our luxury brand. So I think it will be easier for us to position the brand versus Blue, given the fact that we do not have a multitude of brands in our brandscape architecture.
And I'm sure you checked whether Red works in Russia and in other countries.
It should do. Blue did.
Blue was
Blue did.
And for the record, I like whiskey, single malt. Okay, let's move to the next one. Venue. I think it's fair to say that most of you would have heard of Moxie and have seen maybe the sample rooms in the years past. Almost anybody probably has heard of Radisson Red. But here's Venue, maybe something new for you. Scott, shall we step in or shall we step out from a legal point of view?
Well, first, and this is another comment, not legal, but this is a higher market product, a higher cost to build product. And I think I was a bit harsh on the contract types that given that, yes, the contract is management only. The fee structure, I think I'm a bit harsh on that it's a little higher, but that what one would expect for a more premium and higher cost product to build. Willingness to participate, key money, no equity, key money in the right situations. And then contract structure, depending on the country and the legal system and its stability, flexibility, choice of law, dispute resolution, and the like. So I might change the contract, the fees and costs to neutral.
Hannah.
Yeah, well, it was really difficult to compare apples with apples here because, I mean, naturally when I saw the cost of construction cost per room, it was double. But it's a 5-star lifestyle brand in comparison to the other value lifestyle brands. And plus there were other questions regarding pre-opening costs which weren't able to be answered and things like that. So, I mean, it's obviously a completely different product, and it's obviously should be weighted accordingly. But at the moment, in terms of the information that I was given, I can't really comment except to say that it's a higher cost point. Tried and tested. Not yet, but once again, similar to these other brands that we've just seen before, it comes from a very, very smart pedigree of hoteliers, so in the luxury market, and it's backed by the right people. So it's a question mark, but I would actually almost give that a yes up there. Value enhancements, well, yeah, we saw the pretty pictures. It's definitely to be compared with a Me edition and those sorts of things. The question is, there's a lot out there at the moment. Is there the need out there? I mean, I think it's very smart that they've taken on Matt from W, because obviously that's where they're wanting to go there. So he understands that brand. It's a difficult brand to penetrate. So debt and exit potential, well, I mean, I've given it a yes because I think the product's good. I mean, it's exactly where there's a lot of people out there in that generation that want to spend money and have that Me lifestyle or the Edition lifestyle. So, yeah.
Do they spend the money for the right things, Marco?
I do think so. I think they put something in there in that part of the business, because you cannot compare it to Moxie or you cannot compare it to Radisson Red. On that part of business, I found it, it's innovative, it's different. They're really trying to make a design statement there. Construction type, tough one, this one, because I think this is more costly. So I think on your ROI, or to try and get your return on investment on this may be a tougher thing to do. Third-party usability, I think you can, other brands, this would go belly up. If it wouldn't work, I think a W would like to take this over without any problem. Consumer friendliness, yes, I think it's spot on when you come to the new 5-star consumer. In terms of the younger generation that enters the 5-star, I think as a Jumeirah brand, it's a great step into the upper brand of Jumeirah. So I give it 3 thumbs up.
Well, so the overall verdict, from a legal point of view, question mark. From financial point of view, question mark, thumbs up. Design, thumbs up. Overall, we look at it quite favorably. And I'm not sure whether the patient cheated a little bit on us by showing the pictures, because it would mean that one of the sides of your room has windows. That's either very, very costly, or you have cheated a little bit. I don't know what is the case, but anyway, we have a positive verdict here. Matt, better or worse than W?
Well, we're definitely not trying to be a W. That's a fact. We are a contemporary lifestyle brand for a millennial mindset. And I'm not saying millennials only. We're really after millennial mindset. So you and I can be part of the target audience. So I did that just for myself. And it was really, the idea came from, we are from Dubai. And those been there, you know Dubai is boldly ambitious. There's always something big and new and innovative is happening in that city. So we wanted to make sure that fits into our DNA and we live that. And Dubai is full of energy. There's always something happening. And we wanted to make sure this brand is the social catalyst, social hub, people headquarters type of a place, whatever city that we're in. Cosmopolitan was another piece that we looked at. Dubai is just melting pot of world. And East meets West there. And people just come to Dubai to be themselves and let their hair down. And want to make sure that you're able to do that. You get to paint your own picture. You get to mold your own experience, not only for our talents, guests, but also developers. But last but not least, we wanted to make sure we were intuitive. The target audience is telling us, pamper me, but leave me alone. Be there when I need you, but you don't have to be all over me. So we kept all these things in mind in our service philosophy as well. So to be able to execute the brand promise I just mentioned, that our service philosophy is just keeping it simple, making it happen, and making it memorable. Because we do know brands become a brand via storytelling. And the only way you will tell a story if you actually feel something. Because they will forget what you tell them. They will forget what you show them. But they will never forget the way you make them feel. And to your point earlier, Moxie, it's all about the talent that we have in this building. How do we actually execute against that promise? Because lifestyle is lifestyle for W or everybody else at this table, really. You're going to have the lighting, music, botanicals. All of that is the way to get into the game. But what you do in the box And the talent, the way you execute against that promise, is what we're promising. So we love to have potential developers step into World of Venue. Let's do one.
Great. Thanks, Matt. We'll move finally to Yas, very last one. Olivier, your stage. Gas Hotels claims to be smart. Scott, anything smart about the contracts?
Actually, I thought they were very, very flexible, which one would expect from a smaller upstart brand. Management, franchise, and lease opportunities in gateway cities. Fee structure, pretty much the same, your standard base and incentive fee. On the participation, yes, key money, FF&E deposits, as well as equity up to 10%, which I thought was very good. And then the contractual ability in emerging markets, they're willing to accept really where they are, and they're not running off to England to space their contracts, so quite a bit of flexibility there. So I gave them another positive.
Yeah, well, I gave them a positive. Oh, yeah, I gave them a positive for investment costs, but I was actually incredibly surprised by the price. But then I realised when I read that you're in the emerging markets, then I realised I probably had to double that for Germany or any other places where I'm more used to building. Likewise, FF&E per room was extremely low. So if they can copy that in the other markets, then I think they've got an advantage, definitely. Tried and tested. Once again, they're not really tried and tested yet. Value enhancements. I'm concerned about the size of the rooms. I think that perhaps the public areas also need to have a really, really, really good design ethos behind them, or they could look a little bit sort of childish. That would be. I'm originally an architect. I apologise for this. So every now and again I get a little bit more into the detail on those things. Debt and exit potential. Well, at the moment they're in the right markets. They're not. They're at the moment, yes, for the emerging markets. I mean, I read about the fact that I saw your presentation here, and I also know about the fact that there's basically a shortfall of this sort of product in Africa at the moment, and it's definitely the right market to be going there and to testing it. So I think in terms of that market, yes, but in terms of Europe, I think they need to sort of perhaps sort of tighten up some of the financials before entering Europe, I think. In terms of, but I did like the one thing that I did mention is this modular build of 10 months. I thought that was a compelling proposition. The question is, can you transfer that to Europe and the different areas? That would be a question that I'd ask you.
So still some pediatric medical questions. Let's move on to Marco.
It reminded me of a school. Yeah. It reminded me of university. So from a innovation and attractiveness. I know I'm controversial. I apologize. I'm the only one who was daring enough to put a skull on. I know it's for Africa. I know that's where it generated. So I've operated Serena hotels, so I understand how that market operates. But I thought it could have been a little bit more uplifting. I think it has been downplayed a bit too much. Construction type plus, because this can be built pretty easily. Third-party usability, a plus, although looking at it now, I would have put most probably a neutral because the rooms are small. So if somebody to take it over, if it goes belly up, maybe generator. So I don't know how that would fit. So I would be a little difficult. A full thumbs up for consumer friendliness for the target market that it aims for and where it originated from in Africa. Totally see where that sits. Completely understand that.
Thank you. So overall, from a legal and design point of view, a thumbs up, or design was kind of a question mark, financially question mark, overall question mark to thumbs up. I think overall we liked the concept, but we would send you back to the drawing board.
Thank you.
That is the assessment. What is your answer, Olivier?
Few words first. Thank you for the feedback. On a cost point of view, it is a reality. When you do the job, and we work on this concept since the past 2 years and a half, or even more, because when I used to work for Residor Hotel Group, this brand was also with my honor to work probably with Residor Hotel Group on the mid-scale and economy brand in Africa, but the crisis came in 2009. That is a reflection of 4 years. For those who know Africa, there is a big gap. There is nothing in this segment. When I say nothing, it's nothing. It's Papa Hotel with no security, no design, or we can question design enough, not enough. The feedback that is too designed for Africa, just to contradict myself, but at the end of the day, it's very well received on the market. The main strength is the plug-and-play solution. When we say 10 months, it's 10 months, it's not 11 months. In 10 months' time, the hotel is ready, the 11 months is on operation. The one in Dakar that we are building today started the construction 6 months ago and will open in September. That's just 1 month's delay versus the 11 months that we plan to do and what does the first. The next one is to come in May 2016. That it's easy to plug. 90% of the hotel is done outside of Africa, in China for Hilton or in Spain for us. And we will be the first in Africa to propose a modular solution. That I think it's a step ahead and it's a new solution on the market. After the room size, we question ourselves, and generators is a good benchmark and so on. We reinvented the space, as you see, in the same for the other brand that we manage and own. We tried to open totally the room. Then you have a new vision in the room. We've been 13 in this room, in the mock-up room in Barcelona, and nobody was surprised. We feel well. We have a new concept in terms of optimizing the bathroom and the vanity, and makes the space okay for 12.5 or 14 square meter. But we can go up to 16 or to 18, according to market condition and owners, if they want to make bigger and so on. But the concept is a limited concept in terms of size, but value proposition very high.
Thank you very much, Olivier. So we have seen 4 brands, and now I would like to open the discussion. Maybe Scott, you are a critical person and you have seen a lot of things going around in different parts of the world. In terms of contract, is there anything which was striking you as extremely good or still working on? Are all these brands moving in the same direction, or is there anything you want to point out specifically?
Well, I didn't actually see or review the contracts. But this is connected, and it comes to when you're negotiating a contract, and I raise this with all of you. When I'm sitting across the table and we negotiate or propose a point, is your person at the table, development director, lawyer, whatever, going to be able to answer me, yes or no, we can do this, with 90% certainty? Of course, you have to get it past your board, but not say, I can't tell you, I have to go back to operations. Because that's the most annoying thing, and certainly when I have a owner client, I always insist, I want someone at the table who will can make a decision and will be there the whole time, because otherwise the whole thing gets torn up and we wasted time. So at the negotiating table, will you have your contract negotiator, someone who can say principally yes on points?
Absolutely, and I'll start because we're a smaller company, and you know, Aboudi and the key deal makers are the decision makers, and they can actually not final, but they will be able to make that decision right there on the spot.
Well, we're going to our board to get approvals, not to get disapprovals. So we will, tell you what we can do and what we cannot do. And with a total franchise concept, this is maybe also a little bit easier, because a franchise concept, you're not starting at Adam and Eve and negotiate everything. We're talking about pretty much a rollout product here, where you don't spend an awful lot of time to negotiate a contract. You get down to the key points. Many of them are already solved in the letter of intent, and then your negotiation of the contract is something of 1 day maximum. So I'm afraid there's not much in it for the lawyers there. So.
It's all right. Because I think it depends on how reasonable your question is. But generally speaking, we've done together more than maybe 10 deals. You know that our people on the ground are very empowered to make the calls.
Me too, it's very easy to do deal with us.
It's you.
It's myself. Myself and myself.
Yes.
Or
You, myself,
and
I.
And my chairman, if it's a complex development.
I must add one thing, Scott. We're often involved in asset management, and there we have another problem. That the operations people say, well, you know, we cannot live with it, and we said, well, it's what your development people said, but no, it's not. That's the other guys. So that is sometimes, in a practical term, also a challenge, not only to get the approval at the development stage, but to make it work afterwards. Marco, you've been around. You mentioned a couple of the brands which you headed and worked for. Anything striking you here, and you say, yes, this is something the market has waited for?
No, I think I think the African brand, to be very honest, having worked in Africa, I think you're absolutely right. There's nothing like it in Africa. So in that respect, for an Africa continent to do this, absolutely right. Roll them out as fast as you can. Go along the highways and off you go. I think it's a great opportunity. I think the red brand, Radisson Blue, and now the Radisson Red. I think it has it has cachet. It has some things to go with. Moxie, I wish there was more oomph. I wish there was more pizzazz. But Venue and the five-star brand, yeah, I think they are making a little bit of inroad, and there is, in my opinion, for the millennials and for the entry into Jumeirah, I think it absolutely can work.
Now let's ask Olivier. You have seen the other brands. Any inspiration you take home now?
From my colleagues?
Yeah.
No, I think probably you're right. Moxie could be more, for the millennials, could be more spectacular, but I think they made a good job. I care about all these economy brand or economy plus or lifestyle brand, call it what you want. You know, the guys who started to think about that was Citizen M a few years ago, and I benchmark a lot, and I inspire myself a lot with Citizen M because it's a good concept. In a minimum size, because you mentioned my size, but think about that in 4-star, 16 square meter is below any commitment in Europe, and they work well. That is not a matter of square meter. Radisson Red, I know a little bit because I was on the other side and I was with them. That I think it's a great solution for a lifestyle, selected lifestyle in the world, and now they need to develop and they need to show us some spectacular flagship like they used to do with Radisson Blue. And I like the entry level of Jumeirah, as you mentioned. Vida, I think Vida from Imar was launched 3 years ago. And this is a reply of Jumeirah. And on each segment, there is a solution. The purpose is to bring a solution to the client. And me, from my perspective, this economy brand, and we do also with the mid-scale and the upscale, but the economy brand is a real need. Then we bring in solution. And just to finish with the price proposition, you said I would like to see in Europe, but in Europe it will be cheaper than what we build in Africa, because there is no logistics or less logistics. To send the container, the modular structure in Dakar or in Malabo, it's more costly than to send in London or in Marseille. Then for us, it's 20% less to do the hotel in Europe versus Africa.
My only concern would be to do with some of the regulations like fire and health and safety and those sorts of things. I would love that it only takes 10 months to build in Europe.
We've got all the certificates, and you know, when you work with World Bank, IFC, and all these guys, they are very strict, and we pass all the tests. And but we need to dive more in detail, and we need more time to discuss about that, because it's quite new, but it's not new in Europe. Premier Ins in the UK, they've done that for the past 10 years. It's new for Africa, but not new in Europe. And us, also, we try to put added value. Have you seen the second skin facade? It's very innovative to put alucobon and LED light during the night, because even in economy model, when you enter in an hotel, you should be proud before to check in. And here in Dakar or anywhere in Africa, people with a limited budget can be proud to check in a nice product.
Yeah, but one of the wonderful things about Europe is that not only is every country different, but every city tends to be different. And that's why I think that's a challenge when you're going to come into Europe, will be the city by city, case by case example. And but I mean, every developer wants to see something that's constructed in 10 months. So I think I wish you all luck, and we would love to see this.
Well, I think that Moxie from groundbreaking is being constructed in 6 months in Europe. But the other story is, of course, getting the planning permission.
Yes.
Conventional build, it may take 3 months with a somewhat avant-gardistic, all singing and dancing prefab system, it may actually take 4 or 5 months. So the 10-month can probably be reached once you've convinced some people in the planning
You
authorities.
should have a bet. You keep coming back to that. The first one, let's just see if you can build it in 10 months, and then we'll come back to it.
But we have to say whether it's with or without planning, and
We do 6 months in Germany.
6 months in Germany, okay.
Olivier says 11 months. Marcus says 6 months. Matt, you work on 9 months.
Come on.
Yesterday.
Give us 4. Inshallah, mashallah, we'll get to when we get to. We're from Middle East. But I'll start with Moxie. I used to work for Marriott for quite a few years, and my boss, Tina Edmondson, Vicky, and Tony, they created with this. I have nothing but most respect, and then they're a bunch of creative people. I particularly like the attitude and tone of voice for the crew, you call it. It's just brilliant, and I love the way you have executed that. And first time I saw Radisson Red, it was in Hong Kong. And imagery, and then the colors and the visuals are amazing. So congratulations to you all. I'm very intrigued about Africa, so maybe Jumeirah should come up with a 3-star,
Sure.
and we should get into that market. Yeah,
Let's do a joint venture.
yeah, there we go.
Eli, I think it's not a secret. You are Lebanese, and we will not hold it against you. But large parts of Africa are more or less run by Lebanese people. Yeah,
that's true.
And I understand you worked with Olivier before. Now, you have a lot of hotels in Russia, and it will be tough years ahead. Should you refocus maybe from the very east to the south to Africa? And why don't you buy this guy out?
Which guy?
Olivier?
Oh, we can afford it. First of all, we've already refocused 3 years ago to Africa. So a year and a half ago, we're very focused on Africa today. Every year we sign more or less 10 deals on that continent. Last year we did 10. I think this year we'll do 10 again. So yes, there is some challenges ahead of us in Russia, at least in the foreseeable future. Coming back to what we've seen today, I think Olivier has the biggest opportunity for scale in the next 8 to 18 months. That scale will have to be in Africa. We will struggle coming to Europe, but it doesn't matter. Money is money. So long he can execute in Africa, I think he has the biggest opportunity amongst us when it comes to scale. I think when it comes to the three of us, it's all about execution. So we can sing lovely tunes today and say this and that. It will boil down to executing those brands and rolling them out properly. Both execution on development, rolling out, and also when it comes to the software inside those properties.
So I apologize, we have no microphones here, but any questions from you, from the audience? Christian.
Is there a comparison on construction cost per room?
How much is Moxie?
Question on comparison
Depends
of
how you
construction
construct it.
costs.
Depends how you construct it, you know. Call it somewhere between 45 and 60,000 euros a room without land.
Okay. So 45 to 65, we're at 110 to 115,000 euros, excluding land. And our economic model shows that you need a RevPAR of 85 to 90 to generate an IRR to your investor of 15%. So that's the economic model of the brand.
For us, it's obviously a bit different, but $250,000.
How much?
250.
And you can build 10 rooms for that, Olivier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 50k euro,
And we'll give you the change.
50k euro in Africa, excluding land and tax and insurance, and 40k in Europe, more or less.
Any other questions?
Because of the rules.
Why is the rent
Yes.
so expensive?
Good question. No, very good question. We struggle with that because there is a yin-yang relationship between the guest experience and the cost of the product. If we were stuck into that string, delivering the room size that we want to deliver, the experience inside the room, delivering the front of the house experience, and the IT infrastructure around the hotel specifically. I think that's what drove a little bit the cost. We have value engineered it 3 times now, and this is where we stand. I frankly don't think we can squeeze it by more than 10% more than that.
25 square meter rooms,
25 square meter rooms, which is,
which is much more than the Moxie.
yes.
17 and a half.
Yeah, exactly. But, so that's part of the story. It's a complex
Yes. It's a challenge.
But you know, with Moxie, you're trying to get the people out of the room. So they should sleep in the room. You try to get them out into very cozy, comfortable public areas.
Simon, a question back for you. If expensiveness is relative, right? If you are having a brand that is costing you 115,000, and if the brand delivers you 80 to 90 euros as ref bar, which doesn't seem to be unachievable, it's a very achievable number, and hence an IRR of 15%, sounds to me humbly that the economic model stacks up.
I agree. I suppose the developer is going to think, is this a mid-market select service hotel or is it a limited service hotel? There's plenty
You're
of
right.
mid-market select service.
We call it
Question mid-market or select service.
we call it lifestyle select.
It's interesting, the terminology, upper upscale and lifestyle select. But Markus had the right the word for the moment, getting the people out. It's now my job to get everybody out. But we will end it with a final health examination. The verdict on Moxie is, it is a patient which is alive and kicking, and it will grow and it will multiply very quickly. It may not be the most revolutionary product in the world, but it has the power behind to grow quickly. Now, in a second phase, I think Moxie has to get arrogant in terms of product quality. What we have seen with Mochel 1 also in development, but with a prefabricated structure, it's sometimes difficult to get to the best inner city locations. So this has to be seen how this plays out. With Radisson Red, I think it has a great future ahead of it. I would sometimes then question, why should I do a Radisson Blue if I could do a Radisson Red? But that's a different question to answer. Matt, you have a lot of money to spend, so you will succeed, so we don't worry about you.
Lucky you are.
And I bet everything I have in my bank on the future of Africa and hospitality industry in Africa. I think, Olivier, a little bit of more polished product at the same cost is possible, and to get the children element out of it, what we mentioned, I think is possible. But then you may have the greatest future here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.